Alright, hello. Today I will presenting a Cloud Atlas in my protest presentation. Alright, so Cloud Atlas. So Cloud Atlas was a book written by David Mitchell in 2004. It had great success, won multiple prizes like the Booker Prize, which is one of the most renowned prizes for books, also won the Nebula Prize, and Laura Miller of the New York Times compared it to the perfect crossword puzzle. Then later in 2012, it was turned into a movie by none other than the Wachowski brothers, known for The Matrix, and it starred great actors such as Tom Hanks and Halle Berry, and received an impressive 7.6 on IMDb. So what is Cloud Atlas? So the plot, pretty much, it recounts 6 different stories throughout time. The first story is called The Pacific Journal of Adam Ewing in 1850. And pretty much it's about this man right here, his journey from the new land, America, back to his home, England, where he fights for his survival. The second story is called The Letters from Zedelghem in 1931, which pretty much recounts the love story of two hiddenly gay men at this time period. The third story is called The First Louisa Ray Mystery in 1975, which recounts the story of a young journalist trying to crack her first mystery, pretty much. The fourth story is called The Ghastly Ordeal of Timothy Cavendish, which is in the present day, so 2012 when it came out, where this elderly man, definitely a senior, is put in a retirement home by his family, and which pretty much turns out to be a prison, more or less. Has to escape and find his way out. The fifth story is called An Horizon of Somni 451, which is in the future, about 2140, and recounts the tale of Sonmi. I'll get into it later. And the sixth and last story is in a post-apocalyptic world, 106 winters after the fall, where we follow Zachary and his travel to save his family in this post-apocalyptic world. So as I said, for my protest, I will be focusing on the story of Sonmi 451. Right, so who is Sonmi? Sonmi 451. So the story is set in Neo-Sa Corpus, which is pretty much Neo-Seoul, which is the new Seoul in South Korea, because I don't know if you can see very well, but the waters, the height of the water has increased since because of the melted ice caps, and so they have just built above the water this new city. So it's a dystopian future society that is a totalitarian state that has evolved from a corporate culture. So that means that the the state is turned to a capitalistic and a more consumerism view of politics. So Sonmi 451 is a genetically engineered fabricant. It's pretty much a clone, and she is one of thousands that exists, and she works at a fast food. So here we can see her with her other clones. And so fabricants are pretty much slaves used by purebloods who stunt the consciousness of the fabricants through chemical manipulation. So Somni 451 does not have a consciousness, which means she doesn't know what is right or wrong. She just does what she is told to do. So she's pretty much a robot of some sort. And all these fabricants are fed this, are told that once they have worked enough throughout their life, they will gain their own freedom. So we start off in the story with Somni 451 just in her daily life, when suddenly she encounters a rebel from the underground society, who then draws her out of this routine day life where all she does is work, sleep, following every single command and everything. And so then she's introduced to this, to the real world of what is actually going on around her, and that she's not anymore in this little fast food where it's always the same. And so she does become self-aware since she is not she is not given the chemical solutions, so she is loses her consciousness. So she is then introduced to the horrors of her world, which is a totalitarian state where she is just a clone, and she is considered inferior to all the others. And the other thing she is introduced to is this world of constant deceits. Indeed, they were told all along that fabricants would be released once they have served their years as fabricants. But then she goes and visits a factory with the rebels and realizes that the clones just end up being killed and recycled into new fabricants, but also but are also fed as nutriments to the actual fabricants. So here we can see Somni 451 is feeding herself off of a past fabricant, and could very well be her past fabricants. So this obviously moves her, since she has become aware and has gained consciousness. So at the encouragements of the rebels, she writes an abolitionist declarations, which is a speech that pretty much tells the truth about the society and calls for rebellion in all the purebloods, all the people of the society. She is nonetheless captured by the overpowered government, and then she is ultimately interrogated by an archivist. So throughout the whole story, it's told through the actual interview between the archivist and Sanmi. So Sanmi 451 pretty much tells her story to the archivist. And in the end, the archivist just reveals to her that the entire thing was instigated by the government to encourage the oppression of fabricants. And so when the archivist asks how she feels about this, and would she do it again pretty much for when she was to die anyways, she still decides that she would do it all again, and yet still makes her speech when she knew that she would die regardless. And so by telling this speech, she believes that she will be exposing the truth, and it could be inspirational and could move the people. And actually, pretty funny enough, when the archivist asks her if she actually believes anyone will believe her, she goes, "Well, I believe already someone believes in me," and the archivist very much does believe in her story. And then she is ultimately killed and does become a martyr of this society. So what is this protesting? Well, through the story of Somni 451, Mitchell, the author, exposes the almost tyrannical power that today's governments can have. Maybe, of course, a lot more in more in more totalitarian states. But even nowadays, and I'm sure in the United States, we can find multiple cases of government hiding stories and manipulating people and stories so that it fits their ways. And so that's one thing that this story does protest. And another thing, more indirectly so, is what extensive capitalism of today will lead to with this neo-soul. So I mean, the examples are clear, is in with iPhone factories nowadays, where we've just seen stories of these poor Chinese children that are forced into manual labor for hours on end, and are living within the factory and have to pay with the money they're gaining. They use their own money on the same location itself, and it's not slavery, but there's actually a case for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, where the Qatari have pretty much bought Pakistani workers for 5-6 years, where they keep their identification and all, and they have to work in Qatar, and so it's in a sense paid slavery. And so this is what David Mitchell is showing us, that if we keep going with this extensive capitalism could very well lead to this dystopian future. And so, lastly, the way I read the book and saw the movie, I could see a bit of a comparison between Sound Me 451 and Abraham Lincoln, in the sense that, well, first of all, Sound Me's last speech is called Declarations, which is, I don't know, I felt like it was close to the Declaration of Emancipation, you know, Declaration. And so, otherwise, the thing I realized was that, well, if we look at the personas of these two people, well, Abraham Lincoln wasn't a very revered man at the time. Most white men still believed in slavery and all that stuff. And when he himself assassinated, it took years before we realized his greatness. And it's the same thing with Sound Me 451. At this time, no one knows who she is, you know. All purebloods just, no, it's just a fabricant, pretty much. But funny enough, in the sixth story, then the one 106 years after the fall, there was a recording that was saved through the fall, what leads to the post-apocalyptic world, of Sound Me's speech. And in this post-apocalyptic world, there are different tribes, and one tribe actually believes that Sound Me 451 is a god. And in a sense, we have glorified Abraham Lincoln to a certain point of not being a god, but definitely of that stature. So we can definitely see a comparison of the two. So ultimately, we can just see that Mitchell, through this pretty touching story of a clone, just an ordinary clone, is able to protest so many different problems with our society. And so lastly, I just want to point out this quote from Sound Me 451. If I'd remained invisible, the truth would have stayed hidden. I couldn't allow that. And so here we have, it is the end, Cloud Atlas. Thank you for listening. It was a great movie. I hope you go and watch it.